Why is it so difficult to understand some native English speakers, but so easy to understand others? For example, it's difficult to understand your favorite Netflix series or movies in English, but it's easy to understand your English teacher. People like me, Gabby from GoNaturalEnglish.com. That's because your English teacher talks like this. We clearly enunciate words because we're training you in the English language. But other people talk a lot more like this, and that's kind of how I talk when I'm talking to my friends too. You can tell there's a difference. Now, many English learners have become fluent by using non-traditional means. They're learning English quickly and having fun, using more modern ways, different methods to learn. And they're using Netflix series and movies and things like online language lessons, live tutoring from the comfort of your own home. You don't have to go to a traditional language class anymore. And in fact, I'm going to tell you about a special partnership that Go Natural English has with Lingoda to bring you the best value on live online lessons. But that's at the end of this video, so stick around. So there's you. You've probably been taking English classes for years, maybe in high school, maybe in college. You've worked hard to study grammar rules and to memorize lists of vocabulary words. You may even have studied for tests like the IELTS or the TOEFL. Well, all of these things are not bad, but they have not prepared you for the real world of English speakers. Native conversations, Netflix, movies, music, news, and much more. When you look around, when you set out into the real world and you listen, you think, oh my goodness, what language are they speaking? It can't be English because that's not what I learned in my class. I know how you feel because this is how I felt after studying Spanish in college for 3 years. I went to my local corner store where the owners were Spanish speakers, and I heard them speaking like so quickly. It sounded like nothing I'd ever heard before. And so I know how it feels. Today, we're going to talk about why this happens and how to fix it. So if you're ready to get fluent, then let's go. So none of these things, grammar rule memorization, long lists of vocabulary words that we don't even know how to put into a sentence, studying for the IELTS, the TOEFL, or other tests, none of these things really help you that much for real-world conversation. In fact, these kinds of tests and these academic English classes were specifically engineered to keep certain English learners out of opportunities like jobs, university programs, even immigration. They were not ever designed to help you speak to real people in everyday situations, people you might encounter on the street, or maybe in a professional situation or at a party. So maybe you know by now that your English textbook, your English course, and maybe even your English teacher has lied to you about what's really important. They haven't told you how to really communicate in the real world. Maybe it's because they don't even know the answer themselves. But people who are fluent in English, who have learned the language quickly and easily, they know something that you don't know, that maybe your English teacher didn't even know. There's a formula, there's an equation for English fluency that I'm going to share with you today. The problem is, in Netflix series, in movies, and even in everyday conversations, you hear slang words, phrases that were never taught in your English class, accents that your teacher never shared with you, and cultural references that were never part of the lesson plan. Things like what's going on in society, what we grew up with as a culture. These are all parts of the way that we communicate as native English speakers. This is the problem. When you learn English in a classroom, you're in a bubble and you don't get exposure to these other things that are so important in communication. Imagine if it were reversed. If The phrases from your textbook were actually the phrases from real life or in movies. Would you watch a Netflix series where all they talked about was the book on the table? Probably not. You see, a lot of textbooks were engineered to make sense for academics so that your teacher could grade you on something and decide whether you pass or fail. You see, a lot of textbooks and courses were really designed to judge you. And you can't really judge someone if it's a continuum, an evolution, and that's really what learning language is. There is no finish line. There is no end of the class. There's no pass or fail. There's only, did you communicate? Did they understand you? Did you understand them? There's no grade in the real world. To many of you, English might feel like a distant dream. Having fluency might seem like something that you just can't attain. It's out of reach. But then how did some people learn English fluently? Why do they make it look so easy? How are there people who are young who learned English quickly, almost like native speakers? And seeing all these people around you demonstrating their English skills is baffling. People who only studied English for a few months or a year. People who are still young. How did they learn? You might feel like your dream of English fluency is just that, a dream, something that is impossible to reach. You start to realize that traditional English classes are a joke. They're not working. They don't produce fluency, and they definitely don't help you with your confidence. You start to realize that the joke was on you. You're on the losing side of this joke if you continue to try to learn in these antiquated ways that are not working. What if I told you that that is all wrong? I worked in English classrooms for years, and I witnessed firsthand how bad the way of learning is in the classroom. And that's why I'm here online with you at GoNaturalEnglish.com. I'm here to tell you that you can reach fluency, and there's a better, faster, easier way to get there. There's a formula, there's an equation. I'll warn you that it's not always easy. It does require your effort, and it can be a challenge. But there are clear steps that you can take to reach fluency. And at the end of this journey to fluency, at the end of this road, is freedom. Fluency in English brings you freedom and the opportunity to communicate with anyone, anytime, and never have to take another boring English course again. I've already shared the English fluency formula, which is the title of my online ebook and audio. Over 10,000 English learners from around the world have downloaded it and have learned English fluency with me that way. Today, I want to share the formula with you right here, right now. Of course, I can't read the whole book to you. I can't explain everything because time is limited, but I'm going to explain some really important concepts. First, what do you think about English fluency? Really, do you think it's possible for you, or do you think it's just a dream, something out of your reach, impossible? Do you think that English fluency is only for other people? Maybe they're younger, they're smarter, richer, maybe people with more resources, time, or opportunities than you. Is English fluency only for people who can go study abroad or travel the world? Maybe even look at people who became fluent in English with disbelief. Did they grow up with an English-speaking parent or have lots of native speaker friends? Or maybe the government implanted a chip in their brain to make them fluent. Or maybe they took a fluency pill. Guys, that is not it. This is wrong, and there is an easier way for you to learn English. So you wonder, what is the formula? Well, a lot of English learners are chasing fluency, like they're hunting it. You chase around native speakers asking them to teach you English, or all you can think about is when you reach fluency, or how can you get to that final destination, the end of the race, which is fluency. But let me tell you, you have to stop chasing fluency. I'm going to say it again. Stop chasing fluency. When you chase fluency, you're actually pushing it away from you. English fluency comes to you in direct proportion to the amount that you use it. The amount that you use English with real materials and real conversations. Now, you might say, but I'm not ready for real native conversations or advanced materials. But if you are at the high beginner level or up, you have to push yourself out of your comfort zone and start learning with materials that are meant for native speakers. You have to listen to programs that are intended for natives. You need to actually talk with native speakers. And yes, it's challenging, and yes, it's embarrassing, and yes, you're going to make mistakes, but that's the point. We learn through making mistakes. I want you to make a mistake today because that's going to make it that much closer for you to reach fluency. Many English learners are chasing fluency or chasing perfection, and they think that they cannot use English, they cannot speak English until it's perfect. So what happens? You are trying to participate in a conversation, but you don't open your mouth until you have the perfect sentence formulated in your mind. But by that time, your chance to speak has already passed you by, and you miss out. English fluency is not about perfection, it's about connection. It's about communicating with other people who are using English as a tool to connect. When you start treating English as your tool that works for you to achieve your goals, it's not scary anymore. There's no one judging your English as harshly as you're judging yourself. When you go out into the real world to talk with native speakers, I promise you, no one is going to be judging you as much as you're judging yourself about making mistakes. Even native speakers make mistakes. People make mistakes all the time. It's no big deal. We just learn from our mistakes, correct them, and move on. So if you really want English fluency, stop chasing it. Use English every day in as many ways as possible. That means listen to English. That means speak English. That means watch programs in English. That means use English to write down things that you have to do. Really create your own immersion. In so many traditional English classes, English is really treated like some kind of item in a museum. You study it, you observe it from afar, but you can't touch it, and you definitely can't interact with it. English is not something that you should just read about or study from afar. In order to really appreciate English and attain fluency, you have to use it, you have to practice with it. So if we treat English like an object, it's kind of like trying to become a famous soccer player just by reading about soccer, just reading the rules of the game on Google. That's not going to help you to become a really good soccer player. In fact, the best soccer players probably didn't even know all the rules until they joined a team and qualified for a match. So you see, you have to use English, and as you use it, as you get better at it, you can learn more about the rules. And as you learn more about the rules and you use English more and more, that's how you will improve little by little. And look, there will always be someone better than you at English. It's not about being the best. Don't compare yourself to others. Just keep learning little by little, and in no time, you're going to actually reach fluency. But don't think about it, because the more time you spend worrying about if you're going to reach English fluency, that is less time that you're actually spending on using English and practicing. Specifically, stop chasing English fluency and start really incorporating English into your daily life. Now, if you say, but Gabby, I don't live in an English-speaking country, I don't have any English-speaking friends, I can't do it. Hey, no excuses. You can create your own immersion, especially if you have access to the internet, which I know you do. If you're watching this right now, you can create your own English environment. You can find your own native speaker friends online. And if you take online lessons, it's easier than ever to find native speakers. You have to increase your exposure, your input, as linguists say, the language that you put into your brain, and create your own immersion program. You don't have to travel anywhere to do this. You don't have to study abroad or work abroad. You can actually do this on your own. How? Make sure that when you're listening to music, it's in English. When you want to watch something fun, watch a Netflix series in English. When you want to make new friends, find some friends who also have the goal of being English speakers. This is not as hard as you might think it is. And make sure that you're using materials, that you're reading, watching, or listening to materials intended for native speakers, because it's really important to get immersion from the right sources, listening to native speakers, and also looking at materials that will inform you about the culture. I've had a lot of English learners tell me they don't know who JFK was or what MLK Day is. And these are two pretty important figures in American history, references in a lot of conversations. These people both impacted American culture. And so we have to understand something about the culture in order to understand the language. It's something where you can follow your curiosity in order to learn more and more about the culture and at the same time practice the language. It's no longer some boring lesson that your teacher is making you learn or memorize some rules. English fluency becomes so much easier and faster when you're following your own curiosity, when that spark comes to you and you think, I really want to learn about this. Well, follow your curiosity in English and you will become fluent quickly. Remember, when you're watching or listening to English, do it with an active mind. Don't just sit back and try to absorb English passively. It doesn't really work like that. It doesn't hurt, but you're going to learn a lot faster if you watch or listen to English with an active mind. What does this even mean, an active mind? Well, let's say you're watching a movie or a Netflix series. Don't just watch and think, oh, I don't understand anything. Try to understand at least a little bit. It's normal if you don't understand a lot of what's going on. But try to pick out words and phrases here and there that might be new that you could learn, or words that you do understand already. And what can you guess is happening, or what can you guess they're talking about when you hear those words? So you're actually thinking as you watch. You're asking yourself questions. What's going on? What's going to happen? And you're thinking in English when you do this as well. You have to put a little bit of effort into this. You have to get out of your comfort zone. You need to make English-speaking friends. Now, if you don't live in an English-speaking country, this can feel difficult if everyone around you is speaking your native language. You have to make an effort to meet people who speak English. This is really, really important though, because English is a language that is a two-way street. A conversation really requires two people. You'll either continue using your time dreaming about English fluency and feeling frustrated, or you'll do something about it. Which will you decide? For most of us, learning a foreign language is not just about acquiring a new skill. That's great, but this is about freedom. This is about the chance to communicate with anyone, anytime, about anything, using English. This is about liberating yourself from old textbooks that don't work, from English courses that are just after your money, and teachers that really don't know what they're talking about and they're wasting your time. When you harness the power of self-learning and understand the formula that really works, you can go anywhere and have true freedom in your communication. The most important thing is to keep watching, keep listening to English, create that immersive environment for yourself, reach out and meet new English speaker friends. And remember, it's very important to make mistakes, to fail more often and faster so that you can learn from those mistakes and keep improving with every one. With this formula, you will learn English faster, but be patient with yourself because when you focus on how fast can I learn English, you're putting too much pressure on yourself and you're actually chasing fluency and pushing it away. So instead of focusing on how fast can I learn English fluency, just enjoy the journey, and your joy will actually give you more energy and help you to learn faster. Trust me, this is what works, and I've seen it time and time again with my students. Now, if you're interested in how to learn with an online language tutor, Go Natural English has partnered with Lingoda. I want to let you know about how you can benefit from live lessons in English, business English, Spanish, French, or German through Lingoda. With Lingoda, you can learn from anywhere, from the comfort of your home, anywhere with internet. You don't have to commute to a language school or learn in the old way in a classroom with an old textbook. No. Lingoda gives you live, online, modern-day lessons with experienced native English teachers who are experts, who provide interesting materials for you to learn with during your lesson. Lessons are small groups with an average size of 3 students and a maximum of 5, so you get more time to practice, to speak, and to ask questions. I've taken lessons with Lingoda for Spanish, and I really enjoyed them. Actually, for most of my lessons, I was the only student in the class, which gave me a ton of talk time. I really enjoyed it. That's why I'm telling you about Lingoda, because so many of you have asked me about live lessons. My schedule is completely full, and so if you want to take live lessons, I highly recommend that you do that with Lingoda. Check the link in the description for the best value and a coupon code that will save you money on your registration with Lingoda, especially for Go Natural English subscribers. Lingoda lessons are guaranteed to boost your fluency, and they start at just €8 per lesson. It's a great value, it's affordable, and it's an easy way to connect with a native English speaker. With Lingoda, you can study any day of the week at a time that works for you. They're flexible to your schedule, and you can choose from over 1,000 different classes. I personally liked learning Spanish on Sunday afternoons, and so you can choose from a variety of lesson times and days. Go Natural English has been partnering with Lingoda for about 2 or 3 years now, and I highly recommend them. Really, they are a trustworthy site, and I wouldn't be recommending it if I didn't already try them myself, if I didn't really trust that they were going to give you a good quality lesson. You can check their Instagram out at Lingoda_official. Also, Lingoda has a partnership with the Cambridge Assessment of English and is an authorized linguist skill agent. If you're still not sure, here's an amazing opportunity for you to learn for free. 1 week or 3 lessons completely for free. Yes, Lingoda has a special offer where you can actually do trial classes for a week before deciding whether it is right for you. Check the link in the description to try that out. Or you can join the next Lingoda language sprint starting July 1st. The deadline to register is June 26th. And I already explained the details of this in a previous video about 40 essential phrases that you need to know to advance from intermediate to advanced English. So if you want to understand native English speakers better, you really should watch that lesson next. I'm going to link to it right up here. So you can click up here to learn the 40 phrases that are totally different in real life English than what you learned in your textbook. So this is a great next step to go to. The only difference about the Lingoda language sprint that I explained in this video is that there's no registration fee now, but you pay upfront for your first month of the sprint. So click right up here and I'm going to teach you the phrases that you need to know to understand native English speakers. So I'll see you right up there. Bye for now.